Good morning, Chair. We are live on YouTube now, so we can start the meeting.
Hi, Michael. I'm just attaching the list to an email. You should have it in your inbox in 30 seconds. Michael, I think you're muted. No.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Okay, we can get started. Welcome. Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings are being conducted virtually by electronic means through WebEx webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who've registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Members of the applicants are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawfully non-conforming uses, and consents to sever property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure is as follows. I'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda after dealing with some preliminary matters of deferrals and closed files. Approving minutes, we go in order in the virtual world. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with a presentation if desired. Where the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee, and the committee may ask questions and then take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and the clock is shown on the screen, and we will comment when you reach a minute more and ask you to wrap up. Please start off by stating your name and address for the record, especially in the virtual world, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first, makes their presentation to the committee on an application when it's contested, and there are people in attendance who'd like to make comments. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised in order to ensure that the application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application are invited to speak, again for 5 minutes. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation. And when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given a further opportunity of 5 minutes to rebut those issues and answer any questions that have been raised by the speakers, and that will then mark the end of the decision, and the application is then taken into committee for a decision. Before we get started, I believe we have a set of minutes to approve from the last hearing. I believe that was the 14th?
August 18th.
August 18th, okay. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Even if you weren't here at the last minute meeting, I believe Ms. Sophia Ruddick, you were at the last meeting. Perhaps you can make a motion to approve the minutes.
I waved my hand, but I will speak. Motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, okay. I can't see. I didn't see any movement. Thanks. If you can just call out because I can't always see. So moved by Sophia, seconded by.
I'll second Neil Palmer.
Thank you, Neil. All in favor? Okay, the minutes are approved. Declarations of interest. Do any panel or staff have any declarations of interest there on the matters before us on this morning's agenda? Okay, if none to declare. Madam Secretary Treasurer, are there any files to be closed?
None today.
Okay, in which case, I don't know if someone was just trying to say something. If not, we can then deal with the deferrals.
Sorry, Michael, it was me. For item 1, we received, sorry, it's me, Adam. We received very late correspondence that the agent is requesting a deferral. The correspondence won't be available to be shared and won't be included in the minutes, but just wanted you to be aware so you can add it to the list of deferral items at the top of the agenda.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so a good segue. We were dealing, we have items on this morning's agenda for deferral, and now I guess we have item number 1 as well. So why don't we call item number 1 first, and that is 51 West Royal Road. It's to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, the new rear deck. Planning was recommending refusal. Forestry was looking to deny variances 1 and 4 and 5, and we had 3 letters of support. There are 5 variances, and Urban Forestry was also looking for a denial. Is the agent on the line?
Hi everyone, Ashwik this side. So I'm the designer for this house. So we want to defer the meeting because we have removed 2 variances from our zoning notice issued at July 18, 2022. So we got back the revised zoning notice on August 17, 2022, and the planning department has suggested us to defer the meeting so the public notice can be issued again. Second reason is with urban forestry, we get the letter on 25 August, like 6 days ago, for objection regarding variance number 1, 4, and 5. So our arborist is working on forestry denial letter that we need to resolve or to resolve in advance before going to COA meeting. Like
Okay.
so.
Okay, sir, when you first started speaking, it was cut off. So are you the agent or the architect?
Oh, I'm the
Sorry.
agent. So
You're Ashweek?
yeah. So
okay.
I'm the designer for this project, and
Yes.
the owner wants to speak too, but we are requesting the deferral because we get the objection letter from urban forestry almost like on like a week ago. So
Okay. That's fine. So we do have, first of all, members, any questions for the agent? And if not, we do have another neighbor on the line, Margaret Strain. I guess we just weigh in with her to talk about the issue of the deferral. Margaret Strain from 54 the Westway. Do we have you on the line?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I did have some questions regarding the variances. And I'm not an architect or a draftsman or anything, so it's very simple. I was
Right, but-
I was concerned.
Sorry, ma'am. Today, all we're dealing with, because the applicant has asked, as you've heard, for a deferral, we're not going to be hearing any of the issues on the merits of the application. Just weighing in to see, just on the issue with the deferral, I trust you have no issue. You will be re-notified, assuming you were notified this time, when the application is brought back to the committee.
Thank you so much. I didn't realize.
Yeah, so you will have, if you don't, again, I don't know if perhaps the agent, if you have any questions in the interim, he has explained he is removing variances, but if you have any issues, perhaps you can reach out to your neighbor or to the architect when you get that revised. But we will be dealing with this in another hearing when they bring it back.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay, perhaps Ms. Strain has left us. Thank you. So we now need a motion to defer. I don't have to
make that motion for deferral. Laura Alderson.
Thank you. And please call it your name.
Neil Palmer, I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Okay, trust it's unanimous. The application is deferred. Okay. The next item on our consolidated planning memo for deferrals recommendations. We have the next item is item number 9, 16 DONALBERT Road. And that is a new detached dwelling with an attached garage and a second dwelling unit. And we have a deferral. We have planning is looking for a deferral. Forestry is looking to deny variance 2. And we have a deferral letter from the agent dated August 23rd that they've made changes and based on the comments from planning. So the speaker on this application is, hard to see this here, Matthew Fratar-Cangeli, the agent.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Matthew Fratar-Cangeli.
Okay, so we do have the deferral request on the planning is for reasons 4 and 6. 6 being at the request of the applicant. So I trust you're in favor of this, and this is for revised public notice to be issued.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. There's no one else on the line on this application. Committee members, any questions for the applicant, or can someone make a motion to defer?
I'm happy to make that motion for deferral based on items number 4 and 6.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Okay, I'd like a second for that.
Yeah.
Neil, okay, Neil, if you could maybe try to speak up. I can barely hear you when you've done that.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so we have a mover, a seconder, all in favor. I assume that Sophia is the only person, so I assume it's all in favor of the deferral because I don't have the visuals. Okay, and then the last item on this morning's agenda being recommended for deferral is item number 10, 147 Shaver Avenue North. And this is an application. We have a revised new detached garage in the rear yard. There were 8, now there are 7 variances. We have revised zoning notices. There's no changes to the plans. We have supporting materials, and we have 2 letters of support and an arborist report. It's on the deferral list for reasons 2 and 4. The speaker and urban forestry is looking for conditions 2 and 3, and the speaker is Evangelista. And as well, we have other neighbors present on the line to speak to the merits of this application. Neighbors from 149. Yeah, that's other than the owner. We have 2 people registered for 149. We'll obviously only hear from one, both on the merits on the issue of the deferral. So is Mrs. Evangelista on the line?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 147 Shaver. Through you, Mr. Chair, I really do not want to defer today. I have reasons for it. Reasons being planning had 2 concerns. One being the rear garage. We fixed that. We removed the eaves trough. It's now gutterless. So they were okay with that. It's unfortunate the planner's away until September 6th. However, one of the other concerns that planning had is they wanted us to move the house closer to the street. That being said, moving the house closer to the street boxes in 149. I think we really need to look at this on a case-to-case. I understand planning's concerns about the, the front yard setback.
Okay, so just on the issue of the deferral, just let's you're into the merits, Mrs. Evangelista. So or the merits of why you don't want to defer. That's really fine, but I understand. So it looks like you have a revised plan. You've eliminated that variance regarding straw. And I guess you wish the reasons given are items 2 and 4 that they need time to review and to make changes, but you're saying you've already made the changes. That's number 4.
Right.
So the issue is on the matter of the deferral, you would like to proceed. I take it that's at your, committee members hear that. I don't know if we have to hear from the neighbor on the issue of deferral, whether the neighbor thinks a deferral is appropriate. Yes, we should, and then we'll go back to the neighbors and to the committee members and see what they feel. Okay, so let's just hear from the neighbor, not on the merits. One of the 2 neighbors registered at 149, the property that you made, you indicated would be boxed in if you complied with their community planning's request to move it forward. So we have 2 speakers, either Marzi or Bitter at 149 Shaver. I don't know who will be speaking.
It's Alham Marzi speaking. Hi. Yes.
Welcome.
So, thank you. So the item that I'm speaking on with reference to 147 Shaver is the variance under section 10.5.40.70, and we are in support of keeping the house further back from the front line in terms of the setback, and we don't want any further revisions to box our house in at 149. I'm sure you can understand if there's another property to the right of our property, closer to Burnhamthorpe, that has already brought their house so far.
So I just want to cut you off. So you also the variance you don't want, you agree with Mrs. Evangelista that you don't want the house moved forward, so you're okay with variance number 1.
We find variance number 1 acceptable, and we don't want any further changes to that, bringing the house
closer. It sounds like you're in favor. Well, we will hear from you in due course if we're going to proceed today.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We know your position.
Thank you.
Okay, so you also don't want it deferred. So members, both Mrs. Evangelista and the next affected, who doesn't want the applicant to do what planning is requesting, both wish to proceed. Can I have a motion to either to defer or to, based on planning's recommendation, or to proceed this morning on this up?
We have a motion to proceed as requested by the applicant.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. A seconder for that.
I'll second. Neil Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Ms. Alderson?
It's not just planning that has a problem with this application, it's also urban forestry, so I have a problem with it, but that's okay.
Okay, well, we'll hear it then. So the chips will fall where they may. Okay, so the matter will proceed. So let's put it back in the hopper, and we'll be back to you, Mrs. Evangelista, and to the neighbor on this matter.
We also have a deferral request from the agent for item 12.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It wasn't on the list. 3753 to 3755 Lakeshore Boulevard. This is to permit a parking deficiency, and we'll read out the whole item. And we have a deferral request from the agent. So it's David Mackay. Mr. Mackay, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I see that Aaron Davis is showing up as the agent.
No, it's David Mackay.
Okay.
HBC Planning.
That's what I thought, because it was your letter and your application, but it's showing on the list. Who's Aaron Davis?
He's a neighbor. There's a mistake on the list.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay,
sir,
Mr. Mackay, so
requesting a deferral to address transportation's comments. Given that it's a parking variance, we thought we should make sure that they're happy with it before proceeding to committee.
okay, thank you. Okay, any questions for Eric? Can I have a motion to defer number 12?
Should we hear from the neighbor?
Oh, I thought you said there was a mistake on the,
It was,
that's it.
he's not the agent, he's the neighbor.
I see. Okay, so sorry, Mr. Davis at 85 39th Street. You just introduce yourself, tell us what your interest is in this application, and just on the issue, not of the merits, but of the issue that this matter is being deferred or being requested to be deferred because to deal with transportation issues and comments.
Candidly, no. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for asking for my thoughts. No concerns with the application. Happy to have it deferred. I live 2 doors down and just really interested to know what's happening here. So wanted to follow along the process. So thank you.
Okay, so the matter is will be brought back and you will be re-notified. So at that time, you'll have a chance, should you wish to do so, to comment on merits.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, members, motion to defer.
Neil Palmer, I'll move for deferral.
Thank you. Seconded by?
Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia. All in favor? The matter is deferred. Okay. So we can now go back up to the top of the application and start with item number 2. And item number 2 is 67 Haymarket Road. It's to construct a 2-story addition to the rear and a 1-story addition over the existing dwelling and a detached garage in the rear yard. There is one variance from the front yard set distance from the front lot line. That is the only variance. And we have a cover letter regarding the proposed 1-story front addition. That's what the variance is all about, which is apparently 1/3 only the width of the house, and it's very typical. And we do have only, I believe, one speaker for this application, who is Tony Enriquez.
Yes,
Welcome,
my name is
Mr.
Tony
Enriquez.
I'm the agent for this application. I'm at 543 Concord Avenue, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, and I see there is a variance number. Urban Forestry is looking for condition number 1, and there are no other conditions. I'd like to give us just a short. I guess I introduced it, but anything you'd like to add?
No, basically just that we are kind of reconstructing. There is a second story, and we're reconstructing it, so we're creating a full second story. And we are adding one variance to the front just to break up the house, just to make it look a little bit more pleasing.
Okay, and we don't have any other comments from others. So you're okay with urban forestry condition number 1, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see if committee members have any questions or if they're ready for a motion.
I just have a quick question. There is a structure in the backyard. I'm looking at it right now. Is that a shed and that is going to be torn down? That's my understanding?
Yes, there is a shed that's going to be removed. There also is kind of a veranda at the back, and that's going to be removed and replaced with our addition. So it's going to be a clean site with just the proposed second story addition at the rear and the new garage.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. If no one has any questions, I'm prepared to make a motion. I believe the application is minor in nature, meets the 4 tests, and move for approval subject to urban forestry condition number 1.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder for that.
I'll second, Neil Palmer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Neil. All in favor? The application is approved. Thank you, Mr. Enriquez. Have a great day. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next application is item number 355 Pinehurst Crescent. This is to construct a 1-story east side addition and new covered rear patio. There are 2 variances. Urban Forestry is looking for a refusal. We have revised plans, no changes to the variances. Arborist report, forestry. We have opposition from someone on Pinehurst Crescent who used to owned 53 next door is now somewhere else. And like I said, forestry, they were looking for a refusal of variance number 1, which is the coverage variance, from 33 to 38.6%. And in the additional materials, we have a letter from 53 Pinehurst advising that they will participate and provide photos. So the speaker, it looks like notwithstanding that, it looks like we just have the one speaker, the agent, on the line, Nathan Proctor.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. So we have your application here. Urban Forestry is against it, and the neighbor next door said they're going to participate, but it doesn't look like they registered to speak.
Okay. So I just want to clarify that I don't think
you try to speak a little louder. Maybe I got to turn up my volume too, but
yeah, I can speak louder.
Okay.
So the letter of opposition, I don't believe that's from the actual neighbor. Is that the one you're referring to?
It was in the additional materials.
Yes. So she was the previous owner of 53 Pinehurst.
Right.
So she's not the immediate next door neighbor. Well, that's fine. I'm happy to address her concerns as well. But regarding the motion to deny from Urban Forestry, yeah. So we have been working with an arborist who has offered tree compensation planting plans that we do determine, like we do plan on carrying out, obviously. Tree protections being installed throughout all the other trees. This one tree is quite low laying, and it is blocking the majority of what is the front elevation of the home. So that is an issue for us and the homeowner, as it is a line of sight issue. 55 Pinehurst, it actually does front Pinehurst, even though the driveway access is from Inglesey. So the low-laying vegetation, we are all for green space, but it is problematic for that front elevation. That is the front of their home, and they really don't have any front access to their front door. Visually, that is. So the addition is actually going to be quite modest. It is just to really make the aesthetic of that elevation look like the front of the home, as right now it just kind of looks like the side entrance. The addition itself doesn't encroach in the setback. We are just asking for a coverage variance. Also, the other variances on there would be to address some legal non-conforming items. Seeing that the front elevation is technically Pinehurst, you can see that there's really no backyard. So the side yard addition for that covered porch is actually encroaching into the side yard setback. Yeah, as far as the comments from the previous owner, I have already spoken to the neighbor, 53, the actual neighbor at 53 Pinehurst. He was willing to submit a letter of recommendation or support rather. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out in timing. However, I did speak with him. We do our own community outreach too, so we send letters throughout the same mailing area as the C of A does. We didn't receive any feedback from any other neighbors regarding drainage. The drainage has to be done as per building code, so it will be completed with leaping tile and proper drainage layers, as well as the additional side yard covered porch area will have eaves trough, and it will be drained away from the neighbor's homes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just to point out, I guess, so
sorry,
just to clarify.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt, but we do have a registration request that was missed in the additional materials. So if we can stand this item down while we try and contact the interested parties, maybe we can come back to it.
Right, well, hold on. Was that what I referred to at the outset that we did have in the additional materials, a neighbor who wrote in and said they were going to wanted to participate,
Yes,
but they're not here. So you're saying it may be.
we missed them. They
we
requested
missed
to
them.
participate
Okay.
to participate.
Okay, so let's hold it down. We won't have to hear from Mr. Proctor again. We know what he said. It's a 96 square foot addition with a 219 square foot covered porch next to them. Rather than going up, they, I guess, wish to stay on a one-story, which is certainly, I think one of the neighbors suggested they go up. Okay, so let's stand this down. And let's move on to item number 4.
Thank you.
Number 4 is 9 GLADSMORE Crescent. It's an application to construct a new front porch and a below-grade stairwell in the front yard. We have one variance, encroachment into the front yard setback. There is no encroachment into the side yard setback. There's 7 letters of. We have absolutely nothing on file from anyone. The speaker on this application is the agent, Deep Sahota.
Good morning, committee members. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yeah, would you like a presentation from my end?
I don't believe we need one. It's very simple. One variance and 7 letters of support. No comments from any. Oh yeah, urban for condition number 1. I trust that's acceptable.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just see if members have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
If there's no questions, I'm prepared to weigh in with the motion.
Thank you.
Motion to approve this application. I find it to be minor in nature and consistent with the 4 tests, subject to urban forestry condition number 1.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Seconded for that, Ms. Alderson.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor? You have your approval unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Sahota.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Okay, item number 5. This is probably the biggest application or most people interested in this agenda. It's 196 Lakeshore Drive. Applications on Lakeshore Drive have a lot of interest. So let's just introduce it. It's an application. We have revised agenda page dated August the 17th. It's to construct a new detached dwelling and a new detached garage in the rear yard. There were 6 variances. There are now 3 variances. 3, 4, and 5 have been eliminated. We have the revised zoning notice and plans, a cover letter, and supporting materials responding to the neighbors' concerns. We have an arborist report. Transportation has 5 conditions of approval. Forestry is looking to have us deny variance 1. There are 5 letters of opposition. And I think one of the letters had a petition attached to it, the letter from 198. And in the additional materials, we have additional letter of opposition from 198A, Lakeshore Drive. The applicant is Ty Reich, the agent for the applicant, as well as we have the neighbors from 190, 188, 198, and 198A registered to speak, as well as tenant or neighbor at Unit 8 and Unit 7 at 247 Lakeshore Drive. And then we have a neighbor from 113th Street. So we have 1, 2, 3. 8 speakers in addition to the applicant on this one. So let's go over to Mr. Ryak and
good morning.
We can get a presentation. Good morning.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Tay Rook. I'm the planner for the owners of the property at 196 Lakeshore Drive. The application before you today is to construct a 2-story detached dwelling with a detached rear garage in the rear yard. As the chair noted, 3 variances have been eliminated, being variance 3, 4, and 5. So the only remaining variances are 1, 2, and 6 related to FSI, side yard setback for the dwelling, and side yard setback for the detached garage. As it relates to the FSI at 0.79 times the lot area, there was a submission made providing a table indicating the various approvals or existing FSIs that exist within the neighborhood. And what you find is an average FSI of 0.88 that's found throughout this neighborhood, and as high as up to 0.98 in certain properties. And given the context and also the proposal itself, the house itself doesn't require any variances related to building length, building height, front yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks. The only variance related to the house per se is to the east side yard setback at 1.22 meters versus 1.5 meters, which is approximately 28 centimeters. And what you'll also note that the existing east side yard setback of the existing dwelling is also at 1.22 meters. So we're maintaining that current standard. What you'll also find on the west side yard, the existing dwelling is actually closer to the west lot line, but the new proposal or the new dwelling will be set back further than the existing dwelling itself. So the proposal in its entirety is pretty much an as-of-right building envelope minus the 0.28 meters on the east side yard, because it does comply with length and height as indicated. So the FSI number of 0.79 is, in this particular case, just a number not indicative of a development that's overdeveloping on the site. It's something that has been deployed appropriately on the subject site and is consistent with other developments or houses that exist within the neighborhood. As I indicated, the 1.22 meters on the east side yard is matching the existing side yard of the existing dwelling. In addition, there is a side yard setback variance number 6 for the detached garage. And once again, this is very consistent with the existing garage at the rear yard in terms of the east side yard setback. The bylaw requires, for some strange reason, a 6-meter side yard setback on a flankage yard. And quite frankly, that wouldn't be possible to provide for a detached garage. And given the current circumstance that an existing garage does exist on the property, this is basically maintaining the status quo of the subject site. There was a transportation also didn't have any issues with the setback for the garage, as well as noted by the chair. It's just providing conditions of approval, which we have no concerns with. Forestry did provide a comment indicating refusal of variance number 1, which is related to FSI, for a tree located at the front of the dwelling, right beside the walkway, if you see it on the site plan. This particular tree, as identified by our arborist report, is 2 centimeters in diameters. The urban forestry has identified as 4 centimeters, but nonetheless, it's a very small tree. It's pretty much a sapling. And it's not related to the house per se. It's because it's related to the proposed walkway that's going towards the sidewalk. So it's not the actual FSI of the dwelling that encumbers or encroaches within the tree protection zone. However, we're more than happy to discuss with urban forestry in terms of relocating that tree or even relocating the walkway so it doesn't encroach into the tree protection zone. And I think there's an opportunity to do so because this is such a small tree. I know there's going to be comments from neighbors, and I'm sure there's going to be questions. But if there's any questions of me now, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you, sir. To this point, and if not, we can hear from the neighbors. So this tree is either 2 or 4 centimeters. So I'm, the refusal reports, and you figure that is clearly the tree. We're not talking about any other tree.
Correct, sir. It's identified in the urban forestry comments via pictures, and also identified in the arborist report that was submitted. It's tree number 1.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's if there's no questions for Mr. Ryak, let's go to the neighbors. The first neighbor on the list is the neighbor at 190, Barbara Guardhouse.
Mr. Chair and members, Barb is not on the call. She won't be speaking today.
Okay, are there any other speakers on the list who are not present?
No, so we have everyone else here.
Okay, so the next neighbor is Michael Backus, the next door neighbor of Ms. Guardhouse at 188.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I live at my name is Michael Backus at 188 Lakeshore Drive. And we see a lot of plans and photographs, but I'd like to give you a description of our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is a micro community.
Sorry, can someone start the clock, please? Thank
Our
you.
neighborhood is a micro community, and here we share the neighborhood with each member of this community. For example, we look at 190 Lakeshore Drive. When I moved into this neighborhood, one of the first thing the owner, Michael Foley, said to me is, we have a gate between our two houses, and that gate is to allow you entrance into my backyard where you can come into my pool. And that invitation is given to all the neighbors. And we can go there, relax in his pool. We don't have to say a word to him. He doesn't have to say a word to us. Give you another little picture of our neighborhood. The back of my fence is dropped by about 2 feet, so that when the Richardsons come down from their the back of their house, we can have a conversation on a platform where we don't have to crane our necks over to chat. We see each other, we can greet each other. Across the street, we can look at our neighbors on the western side, say hello, and also there are the trees there, the wind comes through the parks. We can hear the rustle of the leaves. We can see the rays of the sunset. So this is our community. It is, as the city of Toronto described us, a city in a park. And this structure that's going up there, when I look at the footprint, it says 56 feet. But when you add the cantilever and the roof overlap on the sides, we're going over 60 feet in my estimation. And again, the overdevelopment here is quite obvious because it's 0.9 or more. So
Sorry,
that
what's
is
0.9? Sorry, sir. What did you say about 0.9?
That's what my estimation is, because when you add the cantilever on the second floor and then the overhang of the roof, because it's going to overhang about 1.5 feet on each side. So that we can estimate to be over a 0.9 instead of the 0.7 that is being described.
Okay, it's 0.79. You were saying works out the point. You're trying to say it's actually 0.9.
Correct.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that Remarkable Building Group, the builder or owner of this property, on August 27, in their report, they're saying that the property will be 1835 square feet. However, that is somewhat misleading because the actual size would be about 24.22 square feet or 255 square meters. Or is it? No, 225.02 square meters. So it's a bit misleading from the builder.
Because you're saying that is at 225.02. You're saying it should be 250, about 25 meters more?
No, in his letter from the 26th, the 22nd, he states that the home of 1835 square feet. What I'm saying, this is a misrepresentation or an error because it's really 22 square feet. So we're missing about 600 square feet there.
Okay, I see the letter you're talking about now. Okay, thank you. LinkedIn, anything to add to that? I don't want to cut you. You still have an hour to speak.
Yes, so
Or you said
this,
what
I am opposed to this variance for these reasons. The other thing I'd like to quickly talk about is this, we get the wind coming in from the west and this structure and the sun. And I'm thinking what's going to happen here. The wind will not come through because it'll be blocked by the building, creating sort of a microclimate, hence the fallout of that would be a bit of a greenhouse effect. So we'll be pretty warm and not enjoying the coolness of the air. The other variance I'd like to talk about, and stop me if I'm going over, is the variance on the sidewalk where Ministry of Transportation says that it will be over the sidewalk. I see that as a safety issue because we have young children in the neighborhood. We have pets where the neighbors, the kids or adults will go out there and pet these animals. I have an issue backing out of my driveway because our driveways are opposite each other. And I have to be very careful. On many occasions, I've had mishaps where we have nearly had collisions. So I see this number 6 variance as a safety issue, and I'd like for you to probably look into that a little further.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware that community planning, transit services has weighed in with a memo, and they're asking for conditions of approval on this. So they will be, they have some concerns and they have some way of dealing with it. Anyone, so thank you, sir, for your presentation and your comments and your concerns. Do any of the members have any questions for Mr. Backus before we go on to the next speaker? Okay, in that case, the next speaker is Pamela Doherty Howe at, actually, she's at the same address, so we're not going to hear from Mr. Backus. Pamela Doherty, how is your...
No, he's 188, she's 198.
No, I saw Barb Guardhouse was 88, Michael Backus 198, and it says Pamela Doherty 198.
No, Barb is at 190.
Sorry?
Barb was at 190 Lakeshore Drive.
Yes.
Michael was
Michael Backus is 188.
And Pamela is 198.
Okay, but we also have Sue Kearney. Oh, so we have two at 198. Sue Kearney and Pamela Doherty Howe. So I'm only going to hear from one of them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so it's a Pamela, or I understand, I believe the letters are written by Sue Kearney.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Pamela. I'm a tenant at 198. I will defer my time to...
Pamela, before you speak, Pamela, is Sue Kearney also planning on speaking?
Yes, I will defer my time to Sue Kearney if I'm not able to speak as a tenant at 198A.
Sorry, only one of you can speak. You can't piggyback and share his presentations. So that's why I believe Sue Kearney has written the most comprehensive letter with the petition attached. So perhaps we should hear from Sue Kearney in lieu of you to say you defer to her, but it's not like you can speak for 2 minutes and then give her 8 minutes. That's not how it works. If you're at the same address, only one of you can speak. So that's why I want to know if it's who you two would prefer.
I will speak. Sue Kearney.
Hello?
Hello, I will speak. Sue Kearney.
Okay, I can barely hear you. Is that Pamela?
Hi, Susan. We can't hear you very well. Also, if you'd like to turn on your video, we've made you a panelist, so you're able to do so.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Not well.
Can you see me? You can see me now.
At least we can see you, though. One of the few people who've opted to appear by video, so thank you. Moving back towards the real world. And it's Kearney or Kearney?
It's Kearney.
Kearney, not Kearney.
No, Kearney. How's
Okay.
the volume?
Better. And perhaps we can get your letter up on the board as you speak.
Okay, I'm just trying to, I want to make sure that you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Well, I see we have a pretty comprehensive, yeah, so we have a letter from you and we also have a letter from Pamela, but I just appreciate that we can only have one speaker from each address. I hope you understand.
Yes, of course I do. Of course I do.
Okay.
Okay, so good morning, everyone, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Sue Kearney. I am the owner of 198 Lakeshore Drive, immediately adjacent to 196 Lakeshore Drive. And thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns with the proposed plan. I'm here to voice my objections solely to the applicant's proposed FSI of 0.79 times the area of the lot versus the permitted FSI of 0.6, and feel the variance is not minor in nature, and nor does it benefit our community. Please refer referred to the images at the bottom of page 1. Since moving to the community almost 30 years ago, we've enjoyed and welcomed the residential investments made by both new and old families. We've witnessed many beautiful renovations made to the existing wartime homes within the area and numerous new builds that are sympathetic and complementary to our neighborhood aesthetic, of which the majority have done so without an increase in density. The proposed FSI is 30% larger than the bylaw allows on this lot, resulting in a building that is larger in scale and smaller in outdoor space than other homes in the immediate area. Within the applicant's response to my objection letter, he cites my concerns with the FSI are not germane to the discussion, and personally I feel this is simply untrue. While he states the planning staff did not raise any concerns, our community, our neighbors, and our friends did. I feel, as do the 11 people who signed my petition, this is simply not in keeping with the wishes of the neighborhood. The applicant canvassed the neighborhood himself, and yet no letters of support were submitted beyond his own personal support letter. Upon completion, the structure, including the cantilever, will be approximately 57 feet in length, severely reducing the amount of open space and interrupting the setback pattern established by the 4 properties west of 13th Street. Protecting the backyard continuity is paramount to us, maintaining our ability to interact daily with our neighbors, which we have enjoyed for so many years. Such over-the-fence interactions have been instrumental in forging friendships, as Mr. Backus referenced, and establishing an incredible sense of community and well-being that makes living here so pleasurable. As the immediate neighbor, I am directly impacted by the extreme size of this house, significantly reducing the amount of sunlight to my rear yard and garden, with a 2-story blank wall 2 feet from the property line that extends more than 16 feet beyond my home, and the length of this house will cut me off and isolate me from the simple interactions that I have enjoyed with my neighbors for all of these years. Neighborhood residents and applicants working collaboratively is an essential part of the COA process. It is true the applicant contacted me to share the designs. On 3 different occasions, we reviewed the proposed plans and voiced our concerns with respect to the variances, with the FSI proposed being of greatest concern. At the conclusion of each meeting, the applicant stated that he would work with his architect to see what could be done to find ways to compromise and reach an agreement. We asked him to reduce the built area and visual massing impact of the design. However, despite those discussions, no changes discussed were acted upon or offered to reduce the FSI or visual massing. Unfortunately, it appears this collaboration was simply a formality. As the developer, the applicant is deeply familiar with the process and tools available to him. He prepared a data set of properties within the neighborhood that received approvals for the variance requests. As one would expect, he chose only those that aligned with his proposal, excluding several applications that did not receive the requested FSI variance approval. We worked hard to understand this process, the bylaws, and the rights of owners and tenants living in the community. I did the legwork. I got the support of every neighbor I spoke with, and while many simply couldn't take time out of their day to attend, there was a very strong support for the objection to the proposed FSI. I've listened for hours of sessions to understand the process and tools available to us as residents of this incredible community. I purchased the data set and I've done my own homework. The applicant did analysis of 24 selected properties. We took the time to do an analysis of 97 properties and are asking if the proposed development be revised to represent the true average of approved FSI, which is 0.71, with an emphasis on the particular concern for its corner location and significant impact on immediate neighbors whose homes are a direct reflection and the very fabric of our neighborhood. We are asking the proposal be revised to align with the prevailing size, massing and scale, and appropriate use of land and desirability of the established and future neighborhood development. The applicant is a developer and does not live in this neighborhood. As such, it's natural that he would lack the awareness of the deep sense of community that is enjoyed by those living in this area. As a longtime resident, I have been blessed with the opportunity to make new friends, watch their children grow up, and enjoy many special bonds with my neighbors on all sides of my home. And while my closing may seem outside of the technical rebuttal to the variance itself, it's important that I convey the magnitude of this change to our ability to enjoy what we have come to know and love. Finally, we respectfully request this proposal be amended to reduce the floor space index by way of a reduction in the size of the house to a more reasonable variance of the bylaw. We feel the proposed build will not fit into the neighborhood and believe the application should be refused as requested variances are not minor in nature. They do not maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw and do not maintain the intent of the official plan as stated in map 15 to official plan stating that neighborhoods are stable areas where the development will respect the existing physical character. I thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members, for your time and listening to my objections.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kearney. I have one question, just the nexus of your argument. You said the applicant has provided 24 properties for approvals to come up with their average of 0.88 in FSI. And you said you've done, just to want to get a handle on that, you've done a survey of how many properties or a larger subset?
It was 97 valid entries for the same period, geographic range and building types, new builds, second stories, additions.
Okay, so if you look at the diagram, or his properties that he's chosen, which range from approvals from, it looks like 2014 or even one at 12, are all his closer and all yours farther away, or he just cherry picked which properties to go out and some are farther? And I just want to get an understanding of your survey versus his. Are his all closer? And I'm going to ask him the same question. So how did you come up with your larger survey? Are some within the area, or are those all further afield in his 24, the closer ones?
No, we stayed in the same geographic area, and it's my opinion that he cherry picked those that were more aligned with the outcome that he's seeking.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kearney. Oh, so anyone else have any questions for the speaker before we move on to the next speaker? If not, the next speaker is Kaz Marynick at 198A. Not appearing by video.
Kaz, you can go ahead. Kaz, you are unmuted now. You can go ahead. So, Mr. Chair, Kaz is present on the call and unmuted, but can't hear him.
Okay, so why don't we hear from, we have two other speakers, perhaps we can hear from them, three other speakers, perhaps we can hear from them first, and maybe we'll go back and see if we can make contact with Kaz at that point. So the next speaker, it looks like there are two residents of the apartment building. It looks like directly across the street at 247 Lakeshore. The first one is Unit 8, Sierra Chin Sadi, and I believe we have a letter.
So they're not present on the call at this time.
Okay, so they're not present. Okay, so we can go to the neither of them?
Nope, so Sierra and Raymond are not present. They were earlier, they now are not. We can move to
so
Grant.
Raymond Sadi at, so Unit 7, Unit 8 are not present. We have a letter from someone in another unit who didn't ask to speak. Okay, and then the next speaker is Grant Richardson at 113th Street. Is Grant Richardson?
It depends. It's Church and Carlton can be a very good area, but it's also.
Sorry, sir. Before you start, can you just give us your? Can you start off by giving us your name, please, and address?
Kind of a kicker. Church and Carlton is fine, but sorry.
Grant Richardson. Sure. We're going to unmute you now.
We have Grant Richardson. 130th, 13th Street.
Oh, crap.
Grant, you're live on the meeting right now, so please watch your language and go ahead with your presentation.
Oh, sorry. I just had a phone call at the exact same time. I've been with us, and now I'm trying to find the video again. It has vanished. My apologies for the language. How do I find this thing now? I'm looking at how to do this. Well, I can't see anything, but anyways, I'll assume that you can hear my voice, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Basically, I'll just keep in alignment with what has been said so far, with Susan Kearney and also with Michael Backus that we've already heard from. There's an excellent sense of community in this neighborhood. We've only lived here for 2 years now. Right upon arrival, we found that the same things that have been described by everybody else. It's a very interesting yet kind of strange neighborhood where everybody seems to come together quite well. And visually speaking, that is a big component of our neighborhood. From our front stoop, whenever we leave or we're doing any gardening or anything out front, we get to wave and say hello to Sue every day. I see Michael Backus, and also on the other side, the Foleys, both Barb and Mike, we see them regularly, and we always have our interactions this way. So for us, there is a little bit of, how would I put this? We welcome the idea of a new build. We welcome the idea of any kind of structure that improves the nature and the look of our neighborhood. We love living here. We have no intention of leaving anytime soon. But we would like to keep the sense of community that we've never felt or seen anywhere else. We were in the Regent Park / Cabbagetown area before. It's nothing like this. People come out and they greet you every day, and you have this visual and kind of just this interaction with each other. So as far as our concerns at number 113th Street, which is straight across the road from the new proposed build out 196, we basically have our concerns of the foliage that's there. I'll be impressed if there's any way to not destroy the tree by accident or otherwise. I don't know how you would be able to put in the structure without taking out the very large tree. There has been mention of this tiny sapling out front. Sure, you can always replant one, but I don't really understand how they're not going to heavily trim the large, beautiful tree that we have that's out back. And with that, there's this sense of nature that we have down in our area. I am afraid of the same ideas that Mr. Backus and Ms. Kearney have brought forward. That just the size of the structure, it's really large from what I can tell. It's hard to see it without it actually being there, but from what I can tell from the design plans, it will basically extend back to where we will not be able to see into Sue's backyard anymore. The garage looks like it'll be about the same, but their footprint looks considerably larger. I also understand that there's a cantilever that will extend a little bit beyond that. I understand that the builder has done their best to change the size of the deck that was going to be proposed to be there, so that will give a little bit more green space, which is good, but I didn't really realize until I saw closer how much overhang there is. So we probably won't see Sue very much from that angle anymore, which is unfortunate if that were to go through. I just kind of reiterating or going over the fact that this is a really tight neighborhood. We were welcomed upon arrival immediately, and yeah, we really like this place. We like the way that it currently functions, with everybody being able to see and speak to each other regularly every day. So I do feel that this will impact. If it could be reduced a little bit in size, I think that would basically appease everybody, maybe minus the builder. But we're not opposed to the idea of a new build by any stretch. We do welcome the idea of having a nice new structure there, but the size is just a bit big. So that's kind of my 2 cents for the day.
Okay, Mr. Richardson, thank you very much for those comments. And I see at number 1, you're sort of facing the flankage or east proposed structure.
We'll actually have probably the most forefront view of the structure, as from our front yard, the straight across the street, we have number 2, 13th Street, but just adjacent to it will be the entire. We'll probably, between ourselves and the Foleys, we will see the most of this structure as well with Miss Kearney. So we're interested in we're happy with the new house. We're not ridiculous in that no build, nothing like this. But what we're looking for is just a little bit smaller. It's just a little on the big side.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Any questions for Mr. Richardson? before you move on and see if we found Kaz Marinik. No questions? Okay, is Kaz Marinik that we're able to moderator? I think, Olivia, you're the moderator. We have Kaz on the line or no?
Kaz, you are unmuted. Kaz, are you there? No.
Okay, well, I think we've heard from, we've heard from quite a number of people. So, and we have quite a number of letters, including Kaz's letter. So, in that case, we'll go back to the agent, Mr. Ayek, to respond to the concerns of the neighbors. I see we also have Mr. Laszlo's letter sort of responding to, to those concerns. I believe I saw that.
Right, sir. So just to be clear, with regards to the discrepancy in the letter that was submitted by the applicant, where it stated 1,800 square feet for the GFA, that actually is a typo, and actually that number is the permitted GFA as of right at 0.6. So the actual GFA is what's on the site plan at 2422.08 square feet, which equals 0.79 FSI. So there was no intent in terms of misrepresentation. That basically what the plans say in terms of GFA is what the FSI is going to be. With regards to this, there was multiple mentions about this cantilever of the second floor and over the roof, and there's no variances related to these items or to these elements. The dwelling itself is 17 meters as per the zoning bylaw. There was also mention about an assumption that this was a 0.9 times FSI house because of these slight encroachments or extensions in terms of the eaves troughs and such. But a zoning review was done by the Toronto Building Department, and a revised zoning notice was issued indicating that it is a 0.79 times house in terms of FSI. So there is no dispute there in terms of FSI. There was also a diagram posted by Ms. Kearney in her letter, which did a schematic drawing in terms of what the impact or what this house would potentially look in terms of as it relates to a rear yard. And quite frankly, and with all due respect to Ms. Kearney, I'm not sure if this is to scale. I don't know who prepared this drawing. But once again, I think the most important fact is that this is a permitted length in terms of dwelling that's permitted on the site at 17 meters. In terms of the FSI and the coverage area that was taken for analysis, this area that was covered by Ms. Kearney and ourselves is pretty much similar in terms of area. What we have shown was that in this neighborhood, those 24 properties were those properties that already established the character of the neighborhood, that there are higher FSIs up to 0.98 times FSI in the area, all the while not disrupting the stability of the neighborhood. And I think that's important to discuss in terms of this proposal. This proposal itself, as it relates in terms of the way it's been deployed, in terms of length, setbacks, and height, most importantly height, is one in which is pretty much an as-of-right building envelope, with the exception of the 0.28 centimeters that we're seeking on the east side yard. The FSI number at 0.79, as I indicated earlier to committee, in this particular case is a number and is not a representation of overdevelopment of the site. This house, if it was designed in a way where there was voids or certain areas that weren't calculated as GFA, could have a lower FSI number, all the while maintaining the same building envelope. So at the end of the day, this house itself in no way is a representation of overdevelopment. It's not too massive as indicated by some of the neighbors, and really at the end of the day will contribute to the overall stability of the neighborhood. One last thing is that there was discussions about sunlight. Once again, this proposal doesn't have any variances relating to building height. So that's any sunlight or any shadows that would be created is anticipated by the bylaw. And lastly, there was discussions about the parking situation at the rear yard. Transportation has provided comments indicating no concerns, and the actual legal parking space will be provided internal to the garage. And those conditions that have been provided by transportation is satisfactory to us as well. With regards to the tree at the rear yard, or towards the rear of the property. It's all being maintained. Urban Forestry had no concerns with the application as it relates to those trees. The only tree that was of concern was related to the small tree or the sapling at the front of the property, which is 2 to 4 centimeters in diameter. And as I indicated before to committee, that we would be happy to relocate it, pay for it, or even to relocate the walkway to ensure that it doesn't encroach into the tree protection zone. Those are my comments. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ruck. Before I turn it over and see if the other members have questions, I'll ask you the same question I asked previous speaker, is with respect to the chart of 24 properties, average of 24 approvals that you provided versus what Ms. Kearney has provided to us of a larger swath of properties, and whether it was like an Venn diagram, whether she's just took a bigger radius, or whether you more or less cherry picked and some of hers are closer than the ones you've given.
Sir, the area that was chosen for our review is similar in terms of area, in terms of coverage for decisions that was found throughout the neighborhood. What we did was identify those properties that are similar to our proposal. And what that indicates to me and to planning staff as well is that this neighborhood is one in which it could sustain development or FSI as high as up to 0.98, all the while maintaining the stability of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions? Or we're ready to bring it into committee for comment and decision.
I actually do have a question. In all the examples that you've cited for FSI, you haven't used the one immediately to your home. So I think it's number 198, which is a fairly new build, or perhaps it was a 2-story addition and they changed the facade. I'm not sure, but it looks like a new build, and you haven't used that as an example. Do you have any idea of what the FSI is on that property, or the square footage, or even the height of that particular building as it compares to yours?
The height, I believe, is slightly lower, but not much lower, but it's comparable in terms of height. In terms of FSI, I don't have the exact number, but once again, it is a slightly, it's a different proposal in terms of the way it's been laid out. But I do believe the FSI would be slightly lower. And mind you, committee member, that the decisions that we're only able to get that property could have been developed prior to 10 years or 12 years ago, and the decisions only go back 10 years. But it is, in terms of scaling and mass, similar to what's being proposed on the subject site.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay. Well, you're talking about Ms. August, you're talking about 198. So perhaps we actually have the resident of Miss Sue Kearney is with us. Perhaps I can ask her that question if she knows, because it's her house. When it was done, and was it a new build or was it a series of additions?
Good morning again. Sorry, I don't know if my camera's on or off. I guess it doesn't really matter. I've been in my house for 30 years. I bought the house from my brother-in-law. So the house is 35 years, was renovated 35 years ago. It is on the original bungalow. It was a 2nd-story addition, and I did new stucco on the exterior. So the footprint, I believe, is the same as what it was in its original build, or maybe slightly larger.
Okay, so is that the same residence? So I guess they did a good job 30 years ago, because it looks new.
It looks like a new. It looks like a new build. I was just wondering, in terms of comparison, how it compares to the height of the proposed structure at 196.
The new structure will be higher than my home. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I don't have the measurements of my height versus 196.
First of all, height's not a variance, so maybe that's going down a wrong path. How about the floor space index? That's maybe a better question. Height's not a variance. That just shows how it looks, but it's not a variance, so can't sort of talk about the height. But what about the massing? You know what the massing of your house renovated 30 years ago is? Floor space index? I don't know if you know that, but you've obviously done a lot of homework on this application. So
You know how
perhaps
many square feet it is? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah, I think it's 1,700 square feet, so.
Quite a bit less than what's being proposed at 196.
Same size lot, I guess. So the two lots are the same size, right?
Yes.
Okay. You don't know the actual number, and it didn't show up on anyone's statistics because it's done over 30 years ago.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. Any other questions for any of the other speakers, Mr. Ryak, or any of the neighbors? Or well, let's take it into the committee for a decision. If there are no other
May I speak still or no?
No, sorry, you had your one chance, and unless it's responding to a question, you can't have a second chance to mention anything. Other than what I just asked you about comparing your house, because you were here, and that was part of Ms. Alderson's question to the applicant. Okay, any other questions then? And if none, let's take it into committee for a decision. Perhaps some commentary so that the parties know the reason for the motion or the thinking behind it.
I'm prepared to move a motion, but just a bit of commentary first. So I think the forestry comment, as the applicant has pointed out, is on a tree in the front yard that's 20 centimeters in diameter. He's willing to work with them on that.
I thought they said 2 to 4.
Okay.
No, it's pretty small.
It's a small tree. So that's a non-issue from my point of view. They're willing to work with forestry on that. The garage appears to be a replacement, an improvement there, so I don't see that as an issue in terms of the parking and the setback to the side yard. The parking is within the garage, so that's not an issue. So really what we're looking at is the FSI, and I think that's in keeping with what's been going on in the community, and it's putting up a building that's not really gargantuan. It's sort of a size that's in keeping with what's being built currently. So I'm prepared to move for approval on the variances, and that they're minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act, and that's subject to transportation engineering conditions and subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Do I have a second? If no seconder for that motion? If not, then the motion fails. Can I have another motion?
I'm going to move for refusal. I do think this is an overbuild for this particular site, because in that block, the houses are not as large, and the FSI is, I think, excessive for that particular site. So I'm going to move for refusal.
Okay, thank you. Motion for refusal. You have your hand comment?
No comments. I agree with my colleague about the.
Okay. Okay, so the motion carries 2 to 1 of refusal. I will abstain to avoid a tie. Thank you to the neighbors, and thank you to Mr. Ryak. Okay, and it's now 10:51. How about we have a break, 15 till 5 after 11. 11:05 at this point. We have a pretty oh yeah, and then I guess at that point, hopefully we'll go back and see if we can the item we held, item number 355 Pinehurst, we heard from the applicant, whether we can hear from the neighbor. We will not be rehearing the whole application. So Olivia, perhaps you can advise us when we come back at 11:05 on that one. And okay, so we stand adjourned to 11:05 with everyone's permission.
Mr. Chair and members, we actually have not heard back from the area resident for item number 3. Just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay, so Madam Secretary Treasurer, how long do we wait for someone who hasn't registered, who wrote a letter in and the additional materials saying they wish to participate, and then they don't participate?
To leave them to the last item. This isn't their fault. So we're just trying to get a hold of them.
Okay. In that case, let's move on to item number 6, 27 BETHWIN Place. Application for a 1-story rear addition with 1 variance, 1.1 meter in length from what's required. And we have nothing on this application that I can see. No comments from neighbors or from city departments. Speaker for this application, Tony Tersini, the agent for the applicant.
Morning, committee. Yeah, my name is Tony Tersini, and I reside at 67 Marbella Road in Vaughan. The application is pretty straightforward. We're just asking for a minor variance of length, and we have no refusals from any neighbors.
No, yeah, no concerns raised by anyone. I see there is a transportation, or that's
Urban forestry, I believe, number 2.
right. Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, the transportation on the next one. Okay, members, any questions for the applicant, or someone ready for a motion including that forestry condition?
Could I just ask a question for the item for urban forestry, if I can get clarification on that?
It's an application to injure or remove a tree. I believe 1 is city-owned, 2 is privately owned tree.
Okay, because
they're get in touch with the
So
forestry.
you need a permit for that.
Oh, okay, because there's no trees in the back. There's a couple of small fruit trees, but that's about it.
Okay, you can perhaps contact them, and they'll let you know what tree there. Maybe there is no concern with no tree that you plan on there. They may feel that there's a tree in way of the 1-story addition, but you can deal with them.
Okay,
on that.
all right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the
So
clarification.
very straightforward. Just hang on. So, members, any further follow-up questions for the applicant?
I just have a quick question. Trees that you plan on removing as part of this application, or no?
No.
No, okay, but we still need to make it conditional on that, I think. So I'm prepared to make a motion if no one else has any questions. It's a straightforward application. I believe it meets the 4 tests. And subject to urban forestry condition number 2, I move for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder for that.
I will second.
Palmer. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Tersini. We'll see you again. Okay, our next item is item number 733 Thorndale Avenue. It's an application that revised agenda page pursuant gone by way of waiver. It's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There were 8 variances. There are now 7, 2 of which have been revised. The coverage and FSI. Transportation has no objection, has 3 conditions of approval. Planning would like a condition, an event of approval, that it be built substantially in accordance with the site plan dated August 22nd regarding the front yard and side yard setbacks. And we have the one speaker on this application, Orest Stoyanovsky. Welcome, Orest.
Good morning, Chairman Committee. My name is Orest Stoyanovsky, 73 Abilene Drive. I'm an agent on this application. So basically, as per planning comments, we revised our application accordingly, and the city planning staff has no concerns with our application, as well as transportation and forestry. We are fine with the conditions, and as far as I see, there is no objections from neighbors. So we think it's really minor in nature and would like to ask for your approval.
Okay, it looks like you removed the length and you reduced the front yard setback and the gross floor area and the lot coverage. So
yes,
there's nothing else. So there are the 3 sets of conditions from transportation, planning and from urban forestry. Members, any questions for Mr. Sanigan? Is someone ready for a motion?
Yeah, there's no questions. I'm ready to move a motion. I'll move for approval of the revised variances. They meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act or minor in nature, subject to planning conditions, tying it to the site plan regarding front yards and side yard. And subject to engineering site plan conditions and subject to forestry condition number 3.
Thank you. Second for Mr. Palmer's motion. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again, sir. Okay, our next application is item number 820 Sanigan Road. It's an application to hold on. Doesn't want to open. It's to construct 3 new dwelling units and a new laundry room in the existing apartment building. There are 2 variances. And what we have in this application, we have a previous decision from December 2001, and they converted some storage areas, I believe, to apartments. Urban forestry, looking for conditions 1 and 2, and ravines have no conditions. I don't know why there's tree conditions, because it seems like it's just internal, but we'll hear from the agent on that. The agent is Matthew Pradar Kanjeli. And
sorry,
here by video.
Sorry, it's
sorry,
Nicholas
Mr.
Wiedemann here. I'm the agent on this one.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the next application, item 9. Right, it's Nick Benema, the agent, and he's not going to appear by video.
Thanks, Michael. Good morning, guys.
Sorry about that. I was looking at the next application.
No problem.
So you're just converting a laundry. You're constructing 3 new dwelling units in the existing building. You're not.
Correct. Yeah, we are doing a little bit of outdoor work to satisfy some of the zoning requirements. Basically, changing some parking stalls to be accessible stalls and adding some outdoor bike parking spaces as well for the tenants.
Okay, so the tree condition is perhaps appropriate.
Yeah, so it's going to depend on exactly where we end up putting the bike parking. But I have no issues if that wants to be if we want to do a contingent on the tree permits there.
Okay, so members, any questions for Mr. Venema or someone ready for a motion?
I can make that motion if no one has any further questions.
Yep.
I think looking at the image on Google Maps, it looks like I could use additional trees. So that's what number 3 was about, adding some street trees. So I would like to move for approval subject to urban forestry conditions number 2 and 3. I believe it meets the 4 tests, and move for approval.
I had it written as 1 and 2.
I think I've got 2 and 3, but let me just check it.
Anybody else?
I have 1 and 2.
My understanding was 1 and 2 as well.
I don't know where I got 3 from, but just a
3 from the
second.
previous application.
Yeah, you're right. It's 1 and 2. I think I got 2 and 3 from something else, or
Okay.
so 1 and 2. Urban forestry conditions
Subject
1
to
and
that,
2.
we have a seconder for Ms. Alderson's motion. Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, okay, 9's been deferred, so we'll go over to item number 10, which is 147 Shaver Avenue. You recall we had this earlier this morning. Community Planning was looking for a deferral. Mrs. Evangelista advised she wished to proceed. We voted to proceed. So let's introduce this item. We have a revised agenda page, as was mentioned, August 26th. Variance 8 was eliminated, so we now have 7 variances. We have the revised zoning notices, and there are no changes to the plans. We have supplementary materials, an arborist report, and 2 letters of support. And we have the neighbors at 149 registered to speak. We'll only hear from one of them. I believe it's Elham Marzi, who spoke this morning on the matter of the deferral. Okay, Mrs. Evangelista, welcome.
Chair members. Hello, Mr. Chair members. Ida Evangelista.
Hello, yes. Can you try to speak and just turn up your volume a tad?
Okay, how's that?
Okay, a little better.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Is that better?
Yep. So we have one neighbor
Okay.
here next door.
Yes. Okay. So the proposal you have in front of you is for a new home. And there's a few variances. And as I wanted to just briefly
Yes,
explain to you
staff,
at the
can we
beginning.
can we get the presentation up on the board while we're hearing from Mrs. Evangelista, please?
I wanted to just explain to you why we did not want the deferral, right? So
Okay.
now
You
that
have 5
that
minutes.
being said, that being said, so the variances you see in my submission, I've gone through and I've highlighted what all the variances are. We do have a slight length, depth variance, but that's taken to the average of the front yard setback. So let's talk about the front yard setback now. So the required front yard setback is 15.7. We are asking for 12.83. What we've done, and the comment that planning had, they wanted us to move the house closer to the front of the street. When we assessed the actual, how all the homes were sited, the footprint in that immediate area, 145 and 149, and if you turn to page, there's no page number. It's at the very end, I believe. View north from the front of 147, 149, and view south front of 147, 149. So we would like to keep the house sited as is, because we feel, and this is, a young couple, 2 small children, this will be their forever home. The neighbors at 149 and 145 have no intent of moving, leaving. At the 145 is a brand new home. 149 is also, they've undergone build and renovations. So that being said, the setback as it is, actually it aligns with the street because the home is right on the curvature of the road, and it aligns justly so that everybody has a good view vantage point. And as you see, the neighbors both at 147 and 145 did send in a letter, and there was great communication with myself, the neighbors, the owners, and obviously they quite prefer the way it is cited right now.
Yeah.
So that talks to the setback. As I mentioned, the variance, variance number 3 is taken from the average of the front yard setback because it is measured perpendicular to the curvature of the road. And we have a slight variance number 2 at the rear where the deck is. Now, the garage, and I believe one of the members did mention comment from forestry. However, the consolidated forestry comments is for numbers 2 and 3, which we are keeping all 3 trees. That's why we specifically placed the garage at the rear so that it would not encroach or damage any roots of the trees. That was done intentionally. And with that, I strongly believe that the proposal that you have in front of you is, respectfully, I submit that it's desirable and appropriate for the neighborhood.
Okay, and I just note the 2 letters of support are from both neighbors, and we're going to hear from Elham Marzi, who weighed in this morning. I believe she said in her letter, they prefer it not be moved closer to the road. Has community planning, and then we don't even really have a memo from community planning. It's just they just had on the deferral memo. So you're the one telling us, and thank you for telling their issue, and it looks like everybody, and you look at the location map, I think is very helpful in this application too, to show the curvature in the road. So, okay, so does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Evangelista? If not, we'll go back, we'll hear from the neighbor next door at 149. I think is going to weigh in and say that they don't want any. So no questions. Let's hear then from the neighbor at 149, and we have the two support letters. So perhaps we can get Mr. Bitter and Ms. Marzi's letter up on the board. Do we have Ms. Marzi on the line? And thank you for staying on the line all morning to deal with this matter. Provided she is still on the line. Olivia, do we have Alham Marzi on the line or Matthew Bitter?
Hello. Hi, I'm here.
Oh, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I know
Thank you
like
for your
having,
patience.
no problem. It was exciting listening to the Lakeshore.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks for letting me be here and speak. I understand that as Ada, the consultant, has shared that I guess some external body has requested that the property come closer to the front yard setback. Honestly, as the neighbor, and Ada kindly provided some pictures of our property, which you saw the front staircase. I'm sure one of your staff members could put that on the board or on the screen. Our house would be seriously boxed in. I think if you do share that photo, you'll see that the property 155 to our right-hand side has already created an undesirable kind of view for us. That picture perfectly there on the screen. So if 147 was to come forward much further than has been suggested, honestly, if it was a little bit further back from what's been proposed in the plan of the 12.8 meters, we'd be happier with that. But we really love the family next door, care about them, want them to be happy in their new home. So we're happy to support what's there, but we're already getting pretty boxed in. Any further would really seriously take away from the airflow, from the sunshine, from our comfort. Our house is very new. Well, I say very new. I like to think of 2013, 2014 builds as relatively new. I don't know what the planning committee thinks, but it's pretty new. We're not going to be rebuilding. We just bought it 2 years ago. We're settling in. We're hoping to grow our family. So I think it's really, I would think that having the house next door move so much further to the front sidewalk would be counterproductive to our comfort and to our enjoyment of the space. So that's what I wanted to submit to the committee. I'm not trying to get in the way of 147 building, but I really don't think the property should be pulled so far close to the front yard setback, and think the 12 meters or the 15 meters that is in the letter. Does that make sense?
And your neighbor agrees. It doesn't want to impact you either. And
I know that's what makes them
why-
amazing and why we're supporting them.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Marzi, or we'll not? We'll take it and we'll hear. I don't know. I guess we have to go back to Ms. Evangelista. It's not really a rebuttal, but I'll just give her an opportunity to just wrap up. Not 5 minutes. Ms. Evangelista, is there anything else you'd like to add as your rebuttal? Because there's no rebuttal there. It's neighbor in support.
Right, she's in support, and we just wanted to show her and show the neighbors the siting as the house is right now. What you have in front of you is the best scenario, because then that doesn't push the house further back. That gives them their space in the rear yard. It aligns with the street and with the two neighboring properties. So I believe the way it is, and as you've heard from the neighbor at 149, the letter of support from 145, what you have in front of you is the best scenario.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Evangelista. Anyone have any follow-up questions, or if not, let's take it into committee for a decision.
No one has any further questions. I'm ready for a motion. I think that the agent for the applicant is correct, and I support what the neighbors are saying about the positioning of the house on the lot. And so I move for approval. I believe it meets the 4 tests, subject to urban forestry number 2 and number 3. I think I've got that one right this time.
That's where you got it for the last one, I guess.
I think so, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that motion. Seconded for Ms. Alderson's motion. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mrs. Evangelista. Okay, have a wonderful day, and we'll move on to item number 11, 7 CLUESON Park. Very straightforward application. I don't believe we have anything on this. We do have something from planning. It's construct a 2nd-story addition. There are 6 variances, and arborist report and planning has a condition of approval that'll be built, construct as illustrated on the architectural plans related to a whole slew of things. And that's it. That's all we have. The speaker, we only have one speaker, is Scott Petrie, the agent. Welcome, Scott.
Hello, it's Scott Petrie, by the way.
Petrie, thank you.
Like the Dick Van Dyke Show, if that helps at all.
It does.
I'm aging myself a little, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not really too much to say. It's a fairly straightforward application, as you said. We did work to try and keep the proposal within scale of the neighborhood. We are dealing with a rather small lot. Many of the variances that are on here are literally a direct result or nearly a direct result of the positioning of the original house, and we're just building directly above it. The one exception is that front wall height, which is a nuance of the way the bylaw is written, where if you have a combined front wall gable width in excess of 60% of the overall width of the house, then the peak becomes the height of the wall. So that's why we've got that seemingly crazy front wall height, even though the eaves line has been drawn down quite in keeping with the remainder of the street. But that's about it. As I said, most of those variances are sort of just a result of going straight up over top of the original footprint of the house.
Okay, you have no concern with the recommended planning condition that it be constructed as illustrated?
There's no intent to change unless there's budgetary restrictions that may come into play. But beyond that, no, I don't think so. If anything, we'd be reducing some of these variances in the process. But yeah, we're not changing the design if it can be afforded to be built as drawn.
Okay,
is that a fair qualification?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I just wanted to clarify because it's actually with respect to many things. So it says construct as illustrated, not substantially in compliance. But so that says relate to front exterior main wall height, front yard setback, south side yard setback, north side setback, and rear yard setbacks. It's all the setbacks.
Right.
Members, any questions from Tree? Or if not, is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? And there is no urban forestry here.
I'm ready to make a recommendation. I'll move for approval. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. And that would be subject to the planning condition tying it to the architectural plan dated July 15th, 2022, tying it to the front exterior main wall height, front yard setback, south yard setback, north yard setback, and rear yard setback.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconded for Mr. Palmer's motion. Ms.
Happy
Alderson.
to second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? We have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Petrie.
Thank you.
Okay, Next up, 12 has been deferred, so we'll go to item number 13, 63 Cliveden Avenue. Looks like another straightforward one. It's to construct a one-story rear addition, a new second-story rear platform. There are 3 variances. In the addition, we have supporting material. In the additional materials, we have a letter of support from the next door neighbor at 65. And that's all we have. Speaker is Trevor.
Here. I'm here.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Like I said, a very simple one-story rear addition and second-story rear platform. Is there anything you'd like to advise the committee? It looks like your coverage is rather high. No concerns from anyone.
Yeah, there's been no opposition to this. We've spoken to the neighbors. We have verbal support from many people. We have one letter of support from the immediate neighbor. Basically, it's very straightforward. I can give you a presentation if you'd like it.
I don't think we need it. We have your materials, I guess, in our package. Actually, it's just a radius picture of with some dots on it.
Yeah, so it basically shows the black dots have a side yard setback variance equivalent to ours or larger. The green dots are the lot coverage that is higher, and the blue dots are the building length variances that are longer.
Okay, it looks like the color blindness test you get when you go to the eye doctor. Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Trevor, or is someone ready for a motion? And again, there's no conditions.
I'm happy to make a motion. If there's any questions.
Yep.
Just a beautifully maintained little bungalow, if I may say so, and I'm happy to move for approval. I believe it meets the 4 tests, and there are no conditions to that approval.
Okay, thank you. Second for Ms. Alderson's motion, Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, item number 14 is 52 Emily Avenue. And it's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, and there are 6 variances. We have revised plans, although not highlighted and didn't change the variances. We have a the cover letter confirms the removal of the landscape steps on the north side, and planning has a condition of approval. They want to construct it as illustrated regarding the north side yard setback. In the additional materials, transportation advised that they have no conditions, and the speaker is Ali Shakiri, agent for the applicant. Welcome, Mr. Shakiri.
Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East.
Welcome, sir. Again, we have your presentation, which is again is a 1-page, similar to the last application, a site basic location map showing green lots having side yard approvals of equal or less than proposed application, and we have no one in opposition or with any concerns.
I have no presentation, sir, but if there is any question, I'd be more than glad to answer.
Okay. Members, any questions for Mr. Shakiri? Otherwise, looking for a motion. Again, nothing from the neighbors, and you've confirmed that the steps on the north side have been removed and planning's condition of approval.
I'm prepared to make a motion to approve this application, find it to be minor in nature and consistent with the 4 tests, subject to the planning conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Seconded for Ms. Reddick's motion. Okay, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you, Mr. Shakiri. We'll see you again.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, item number 15, moving right along, is 20 MURRIE Street, and it's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and a two-story rear addition. There are 2 variances with 6 letters of support and a covering letter. And again, no conditions from anywhere. Nothing from Urban Forestry. And the speaker on this application is Mr. and Mrs. Subashi, the homeowners.
So that's item 16. Item 15 is Marco Razzolini.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Marco Razzolini.
Yes, here. No problem at all.
Okay, so you have a top-up and a two-story addition with 2 variances. Basically, eaves and side yard, nothing to do with height or length or massing. Very straightforward and no conditions. Would you like to advise the committee of anything?
No, I think it's a pretty modest rear addition. We think it fits well in with the character of the neighborhood. We feel that the 2 variances are mostly technical based on the house that's already there. And we have a lot of letters of support, as you mentioned.
Okay, we have a very nice, succinct 3-page cover letter, just setting everything out. Thank you for that. Any question and 6 letters of support. So any questions for Mr. Razzolini or someone ready for a motion?
If there's no questions, I'm ready to make a recommendation. I'll move for approval. Doesn't appear there's any conditions. It meets the 4 tests in the Planning Act and minor in nature.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Ms. Alderson, you have your hand up to indicate seconding. Thank you. All in favor? Another unanimous approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Razzolini. Okay, item number 15, A and B. I guess we're going to hear 16 A and B together. They're mirror images of one another in both cases. For 1218 A and 1218 B, Islington Avenue, it's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage with 6 variances. However, we have a previous decision in February 2014, or is it 2021? Can't read my writing. Planning is asking for a deferral or a refusal. And yeah, they're both exactly the, this was a consent and variance application from February 9th, 2021. And in the materials, we have a copy of that consent, February 9, 2021. Question for staff. This was not on the planning deferral memo, which was dated August 22nd. It's not like it was exactly, you know,
No,
the letter in this planning memo recommending deferral or with city staff providing a revised set of plans to obtain a new zoning review or refuse it.
Yes, so they did a
This is
standalone
dated
report
August 22nd. So why is this not on the planning memo?
because they did a standalone report so that you're aware that if it's not deferred, their recommendation is to refuse.
I see. Okay. Okay, because perhaps we could have dealt with this at the outset. So I guess the speakers are the homeowners, Mr. and Mrs. Shibashi. So welcome. We don't have an agent representing, you're representing yourself on this. So please start up. First of all, we have to know how this happened. I guess it's set out.
For sure.
The history is set out in the planning memo, but the floor is yours, Mr. Shibashi.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. I'm not seeing a button for turning my video on. Is there something I could do? Oh, perfect.
So they
There we
didn't
go.
request video, so we can't authorize it.
Oh. Is that all right?
Madam Secretary Treasurer, we have him on the screen somehow. So what is is there a problem with him appearing?
Mr. Chair and members,
No, that's fine.
Mr. Chair and members, the area resident didn't officially request to appear on screen. We don't have that on our records to have them on screen. With that being said, we can have him up on screen, and he is now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you all. Thanks for the time today. So we are the owners, myself and my mom. So the reason that we are coming to committee today, as opposed to the previous decision, is because we have recently purchased the property, and the previous owners, when they sold us the property, they slightly misrepresented the variances that they had approval for. And since we would like to make some slight alterations, we decided to come back today.
Okay, so community planning is asking that this matter be deferred. And if not deferred, unlike some of the other deferral requests today, they made it clear that if we don't defer it, they recommend we refuse it. Again, this was less than a year ago. I appreciate your new owners and you want to make changes. You do start off with your application as you bought the house. I assume has the house been built?
No, there is
No,
no.
it's not been
This
built.
is
There's
the
no.
law
There's
has
not, they got their refusal. Their refusal. They got their permission, their consent, and their variance. I guess hopefully they met the 1 year condition for finalizing the consent. But you're saying before you go ahead and build, you want to make some changes. So, what is the hardship to obviously community planning? They advised they were opposed to the initial application, that this resulted in this consent and minor variances for these two builds. So it says they discussed the concerns with the applicant who's declined to make the recommended revisions that will respect existing fits. So are you saying you don't want to make any changes? This is what you want, and that you want to obviously proceed today to have this application heard? Or do you want to take the okay, so you don't want the deferral?
Yeah, we would like to proceed and make our case today.
Okay. Committee members, I guess do we need Madam Secretary, in terms of a motion, planning is you don't defer it, you should refuse it. So is the applicant entitled to proceed here, or does the committee have to make that decision?
Well, there should be a motion, because then after
Yes.
they finish their presentation,
Yep.
there shouldn't be a motion afterwards to defer.
No, of course. It's either now it gets deferred or we hear it. So the question is, the committee has to vote that. It's not a question of the applicant's deciding that he wants to proceed at his own peril.
Yeah.
Okay, so committee members, looking for a motion on the deferral request by community planning, and the applicant's advice that he does not plan on making any changes and wishes to proceed.
I'm prepared to make a motion to proceed as requested by the applicant.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reddick. Seconder for that. No seconder? Okay, in that case, the motion fails. Do I have a new motion?
Yeah,
Mr. Palmer?
I'm going to move that we defer this to allow the applicant to converse with the planning department to confirm the variances. It looks like the reference plan seems to be a bit of confusion with the reference plan about referring to different property addresses than what was previously applied for. And I know that it's just a reference plan, meant simply to reference, but it'd be helpful, I think, if these items were cleaned up before we hear the merits of this application.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I would, deferral.
My other question was whether the existing variances that were granted then, 10 variances, do those remain in effect, and these are on top of that? I see we had a floor space index of 1.03 times the area of the lot. Or is the applicant abandoning those, or would he have then those 8 plus another 6? Sorry, or whatever it was here, another 6 in addition to the ones previously granted? Staff?
The applicant would have to clarify that after the motion maybe. And also, could we ask for a proper survey, because they haven't shown us they've shown the survey of the entire property, and if this has been severed, we need a survey showing the new lot boundaries.
Okay, for sure.
Mr. Palmer,
Okay.
if you could add
So
that.
let me just clarify then. Okay, so I'll recommend deferral to allow the applicant to confirm the variances requested, and to confirm the correct reference and legal plans for the purposes of assisting everyone in seeing what the actual request is. Is that clear enough?
Yep. And also to provide a up-to-date survey showing the lot as
I think I
divided.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm confused too, because they had these 8 variances, now they have another 6. Are they in addition, or they're greater? Like, they don't mention this huge GFA, and I think perhaps the correct notice should be going out. If they have other variances that were granted, that should be listed. If it's being modified, such as the coverage is going from 38 to 40, I noticed that one. But what about the GFA of 1.03? It's not here. So does that mean it should show that they received previous, just so when it goes out to the neighbors have full and frank disclosure of what they're getting here? Because to me, my assumption is I don't think he's abandoning his 1.03 the coverage that the previous owner obtained through Mrs. Evangelista. I also note that this applicant is appearing personally, which is I take back that comment. I won't say anything, but this is, to me, is not. We have to clarify so that the notice correctly, just for the community, that it shows all the variances.
To ease the confusion, I will be happy to second Mr. Palmer's motion.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Okay, the matter, again, Ms. Ruddick's previous motion to defer, so it carries 3-1. The matter is deferred. Mr. Shabashi, I guess you followed what you heard. It's the committee, notwithstanding your wish to proceed, feels it prudent to have this matter deferred. And as well, there's the practical matter of providing the actual proper survey for these applications, not the lot's been provided. Thank you. We'll see you here again. And fortunately, at least in Etobicoke, York, if you were downtown at Toronto, East York, you might be looking at a huge delay in terms of getting scheduled on another agenda. But here, I don't think you'll have that issue. So as soon as you get these matters dealt with, hopefully you can get it on an agenda very soon. Okay, so now we move on to item number 17, which is 19 Strathvon Drive. Purpose of the application is rather lengthy. It's to construct a 2-story west side addition, which will include an attached garage, a 2-story rear and east side addition, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, an accessory structure, shed in the rear yard, a new covered porch, and a new covered rear deck. A previous Committee of Adjustment application approved variance relating to floor space index, side main wall height, soffit height, front landscaping, and driveway width. Okay, so when we have a revised application, so there are 3 variances. They've still 3 variances in addition to the others already granted. All 3 have been reduced. The speaker for this application is Sanjeev Kumar, the agent for the applicant. And as well, we have the neighbor from 10 Strathvon registered to speak.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Sanjeev Kumar. I'm agent for 19 Strathvon.
Okay, so sir, your application, you were here in March 24, 2022, and you got a whole whack of variances at that point.
Yes,
and
sir.
Now you're coming back so can you please give the explanation to the committee why you're here?
Because of the proposed driveway, a bit have been granted from 3.2 meter to 6 meter. The original conceptual plan by the homeowner has been changed to single car garage to double car garage. And that's impact the whole changes for the floor index and for the design perspective, the height also to be taken care of, as per the double car garage.
Hold on a second. Okay. One second. Did I just, this is 17, so there is, I think I was just reading off of 16 that your previous, no, you do have these variances. Okay, so these are in addition to those other variances you received back in March, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So that's the reason for that. So committee members, any questions for Mr. Kumar? And if not, we'll go back. We'll hear from the neighbor. I was a little confused as to why these additional variances are being requested. The purpose of the application previously, okay. Okay, any questions for the agent, or if not, let's hear from the neighbor, Mr. Smith. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't have an issue with it. I'm actually in support of it.
Okay. As you know, I mean, he's revised it. It's lower
Yes,
than it
I'm
was.
aware of that.
You're across the street, and you're here to voice your support for the application.
Yes.
That's very nice of you to stay on the line for over 2.5 hours to do that, sir. So that's very neighborly of you, Mr. Smith. Does anyone has any questions for Mr. Smith? And no need for a rebuttal. So let's see, committee members, any questions, or if someone ready to provide a motion, to bring a motion. And there are no conditions.
I'm ready to move a motion. The variance is requested before us today appear to be minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act and result in a built form that I think is an appropriate development for the property. So I'm ready to move for approval with no conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. We have a seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous approval.
Committee members,
Thank you,
thank you very much.
For weighing in with his support. Okay, the last item of the morning agenda is 42 Van Dusen Boulevard. It's an application for to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling. So it's a top-up. There are 4 variances. We have a presentation materials, and we have a previous Committee of Adjustment application from 1974, which was an interesting read. And TRCA has no conditions, so no objection. So the speaker is Jason DeVillis, the agent.
I am actually the homeowner.
Oh, you're the homeowner? It says on the sheet that you're the, okay.
That's
you're
fine.
you are the homeowner, but
yeah.
Okay, we will clarify that.
No problem. I thought
Sure.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that 1974.
Yeah, that was quite interesting, quite an interesting read.
That took a while to track down. Anyway, so as you said, I believe the ask here is straightforward. This is a top up over an existing 2-car garage. The application has no opposition from the neighbors or community association, which is TOCA. There are no forestry conditions. There are large trees, but given the nature of the project or the proposal, there are no forestry conditions. And as you've also noted, I've provided correspondence from the TRCA indicating they have no objections.
Okay.
I did have material prepared if you'd like, but go ahead.
Sorry?
I did have a presentation.
Yeah, I don't think we need a full presentation. We have we've read through it, and there is no one here with any opposition. It's a straight top up, which is the most simple thing that you see. So thank you for your presentation. And let's just see if committee members have any questions. And if not, if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
If there is no questions, I'm prepared to weigh in with the motion.
Thank you.
Find this application to be minor in nature and consistent with the four tests as it was in 1974. So, and there's no conditions.
Okay, thank you. Seconder from Ms. Reddick's motion. Ms. Alder, all in favor? Mr. DeVellis, enjoy your new home.
All right, thanks. Have a good day, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if that's the case, we actually stand adjourned until 1 p.m.
Mr. Chair, we still have to go back to item number 3.
Oh, right. And then perhaps you need more time anyway. Okay, you're right. Number 3, have we located the resident? I don't know how, I didn't know, I guess when someone indicates that they wish to participate, that staff reaches out to them, or in which case, have we found these, have we found the neighbor?
We have not heard anything back yet. So we have not made contact with them yet.
Okay, Madam Secretary Treasurer, what do you wish to do in this matter? We've heard the presentation from the applicant.
It's what the committee feels comfortable with. We've tried to reach out. We haven't heard back. The applicant is still on the line. So do you want to keep it held, or do you want to make a decision?
Well, I think now that the morning agenda, if we can't find them, is it because we don't have a number for them? They're not answering. If we try to reach out, again, I think I don't know the additional materials, but the letter was rather freshly dated, I take it, since it was in the additional materials. But I don't know if they've.
It was sent August 26th.
Yeah, okay. It's a 1-story east side addition and a rear covered rear yard patio. So does the committee feel, let's on a vote, someone make a motion whether we should make the decision now or hold it to the end of the 1:30 agenda?
Can you just clarify whether or not it would have been communicated to the participant that this was scheduled for the morning session?
Yes, the issue is they did the proper thing. They registered on time because they registered on August 26th. It was missed by our office. So we didn't send them the information to participate until during this meeting. And there's no phone number to contact. We can only contact them by email.
And they're
at 53.
So they
would
would
see their can we see their letter up on the board, please, in the additional materials? Perhaps that will we do have a letter. It's not like is there anything
and a lot of photographs. I think a lot of photographs as well.
I don't believe I reviewed it. I don't see, and it's not clear what their position is. So if they weren't aware that this was scheduled for the morning session until you emailed them today, then I would suggest that we hold it down at least till the afternoon.
Can we see the letter up on the board? That
the letter is on the way, Mr. Chair and members. It's just having a hard time displaying.
When they said they want to participate, but they have. It's not as if we can glean their position from their letter.
Correct. Their letter just indicates that they want to participate, and they attach photographs.
Okay. We would like to participate in the minor variance hearing scheduled for December 1 at 9:30 a.m. So they knew it was 9:30 in relation to 55 Pinehurst Crescent. So they've had an opportunity to turn on YouTube or, attaching photos, the property line which borders the driveway. This is the area where the variance deck is being contemplated. So it sounds like they were not necessarily in favor.
No, I
But
would
we
say
don't want
not.
a ground of appeal that they weren't permitted to participate. So perhaps let's, you know, in the abundance of caution, and if the applicant doesn't mind staying on the line or coming back, I guess, and Ms. Ruddick is suggesting, although she was saying that perhaps they weren't aware it was at 9:30, but I think in their letter, it's clear they knew it was at 9:30. So I don't know if that changes your opinion, but let's bring them out. Let's not belabor this point. Either we deal with it now or we deal with it at the end of the 1:30 agenda, which is not going to be that late. So either way, it doesn't really.
Chair, I suggest we hold it down till 1 if the applicant's okay with that, and maybe staff can try and contact Mr. Philp, who appears to be a Pressler Law, who are, you know, not a small law firm. And at Keely Newton's email as well. And if they don't show up at 1 o'clock, then we'll hear. It's only a 1 hour inconvenience for the applicant, and I think
Exactly. Yeah, so we can do it at the outset. It's a good King Solomon decision. We won't hold it at the end of the meeting, but till the beginning of the afternoon session, which is
a good idea.
After 1.
Thank you, reconvening at 1 or 1:30?
Or 1:15. Usually staff do request an extra 15 minutes to the sound check. So again, 1:30 or 1:15, staff?
Sure, 1:15.
1:15? Okay.
Okay, we'll see everyone back here at 1:15. Have a good break, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.